History is not about borders, it's about power. Empires rise, fall, and fight for control, but one rule remains. Those who dominate the seas dominate the world. But what if that rule is changing? What if land power, once seen as outdated, is making a comeback? If you think global power is set in stone, think again. Today, we're diving into the grand chessboard of geopolitics, where nations play for survival, influence, and ultimate control. Geopolitics is basically the world's most intense strategy game, except the pieces are entire countries. And instead of a reset button, you get wars, economic collapses, and the occasional revolution. At the heart of it all is a centuries-old showdown: land power versus sea power. Think of it as the ultimate battle between a tank and a battleship, both powerful, but in very different ways. In the blue corner, we have Alfred Thayer Mahan, a 19th century US naval strategist who basically said, "Control the seas, control the world." He argued that the great powers, like Britain back in its prime, became dominant not by having massive armies, but by owning the oceans. Strong navies, key trade routes, and strategic ports meant you could project power anywhere while cutting off your enemy's lifelines. It was like playing Monopoly, but instead of buying properties, you just controlled every single railroad. Meanwhile, in the red corner, land powers, like Russia, China, and the Mongol Empire, went with the classic strategy of why control the seas when you can just own everything? They focused on securing resources, building massive land armies, and making sure anyone trying to invade had to suffer through an endless expanse of frozen wastelands, deserts, or mountains before even getting close. Russia is the poster child for this. No natural barriers protecting its heartland? No problem. Just expand outward until invaders are so deep in Siberia they forget why they even came. These two strategies shaped history. Britain's navy kept its empire running by controlling maritime choke points like the Suez Canal and Gibraltar, ensuring global trade and profits stayed in its hands. Meanwhile, Russia's entire geopolitical playbook has been about pushing its borders outward to create buffer zones, whether it was Tsarist expansion into Siberia or the Soviet Union's grip over Eastern Europe. But here's where it gets fun. In today's world, the lines between sea and land power aren't so clear anymore. The US, a naval superpower, also has major land-based commitments in Europe and the Middle East. China, traditionally a land power, is rapidly building a navy to challenge the US at sea. And Russia? Well, it's still playing its age-old game of territorial expansion, but now with a side of maritime ambitions, like grabbing Crimea for Black Sea access. Each approach has its strengths and weaknesses. Controlling the seas gives you global influence and economic dominance, but it's expensive. One aircraft carrier costs more than the GDP of some small countries. Land power offers strategic depth and resource security, but it comes with the constant headache of border conflicts, internal instability, and maintaining control over vast territories. Looking at history, overextending in either direction can be disastrous. Just ask the British Empire, which eventually lost control of its global empire, or the Soviet Union, which collapsed under the weight of its own land empire. So, which strategy is better? Well, modern superpowers aren't picking just one anymore. The US blends naval dominance with land-based alliances. China is going all in on both maritime expansion and land-based projects like the new Silk Road. The truth is, in today's world, the most successful powers are the ones that can play both games at the same time. I'll leave you to discuss in the comments. Is the future of global power on the seas, on land, or in some new arena altogether? Maybe cyberspace? Let me know what you think. Support us by subscribing if you haven't already. Take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and I'll catch you soon in another video.